Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth edition of E&L PULSE, our monthly webinar series by E&L MENA. I'm Ashik Thomas Joseph from JL Exhibitions, and it's wonderful to have all of you here today. At JL Exhibitions, we've been organizing exhibitions and conferences for the last 3 decades, creating platforms that connects industries, businesses, and decision makers. E&L MENA represents the next phase in the evolution of Deal Dubai, reflecting our broader vision to engage the industry more continuously and meaningfully throughout the year. Our shows are not just for 3 days, they are for 365 days. And as a part of this strategy, we are proud to introduce E&L Pulse, a buyer insight webinar series designed to help our exhibitors and potential exhibitors better understand the market. Today, I would like to thank our panelists and our moderator for their time, sharing their expertise, and being part of this important session. And a special thank you for everyone joining us online today. We hope you find the session very insightful. Today's session is moderated by Noor Abbas. Noor, pleasure to have you on board. I hand it over to you.
The pleasure is all mine. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all with us for another edition of E&L Pulse, powered by the Entertainment and Leisure Show and supported by Business of Entertainment. For those joining us for the first time, E&L Pulse is a platform where we bring together industry leaders, operators, and innovators to discuss the latest trends, opportunities, and challenges that shape the future of entertainment and leisure. And so today's discussion focuses on a region that's generating a lot of excitement across our industry. Africa Rising, unlocking growth opportunities in the entertainment and attraction industry. And as we know, across Africa, we're seeing growing investment in tourism, family entertainment, attraction, and destination development. But with that growth comes a lot of important questions, such as where are the biggest opportunities? What makes a project successful? How can companies collaborate to create experiences that truly resonate with local communities? Which is why we'll be exploring today with 3 industry experts who each bring a unique perspective from destination development and visitor experience to attraction design, engineering, and project delivery. So without further ado, let me not waste time and give the mic to our panelists who can introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Ahmed.
Ms. Ahmed, you're on mute.
Good afternoon, and thank you to E&L Plus Entertainment and Leisure Show and Business for the entertainment. It's a pleasure to join Karim and Sibusiso. My name is Ahmed Gougou, founder for AG Active Play. Our work is concept, original IP, and storytelling, experience design, engineering, OEM delivery, destination strategy. Would love to give the words to Engineer Karim.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. We're very excited as a panel to discuss this very important topic of Africa. Obviously, Africa is close to the region where we are, and we're very closely intertwined with that continent. My name is Karim Sijlamassi. I'm an architect. Spent all my career in Los Angeles, California, and recently relocated to Dubai, where I'm currently speaking from. Again, I have about 28 years experience in the industry, in the field, with the last 15 years focused on entertainment design throughout the world, but specifically in the MENA region. So it'll be my pleasure to share with you all this afternoon my experiences and knowledge of Africa and the African market.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sibusiso Dlamini, and I am from the African Association of Visitor Experiences and Attractions. I am the director and a board member of the association, and I'm based in South Africa, and I'm very excited for today. Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Thank you so much for the three of you for your wonderful intros. I am personally very thrilled to just sit and have a talk with each of you about these very interesting topics, starting with Mr. Sibusiso. I'd like to begin with you. You know, Africa is often described as one of the fastest growing opportunities for the entertainment and attraction industry. So, you know, from your perspective, what's driving the momentum as of today? And where do you see, you know, the biggest opportunities emerging together from, you know, family entertainment centers to immersive experiences?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And of course, Africa is really a growing continent. I mean, futurists saying that by the year 2050, one of three people in the world, one is going to be African. So that's one major driver that we need to look at. And more than 60% of people in Africa are under the age of 25. And this tell you something, that these are tech-enabled young adults, and they are reactive to the digital platforms and internets. And of course, if you look at, you know, Africa as a whole, it's no longer what it looked like 30 years ago. Right now, the digital connectivity, 5G, I mean, everyone is connected in the continent, and this makes it exciting for you know, any future development that will come. But also, Africa is you know, it's popular known for its uniqueness, beauty, and of course, diversity. And these kind of attractions are popular for people to come to the continent, but only you know, 11% of these natural beauty or nature reserves and conservation actions make up 11% of total attractions. And then you get also 25%. We are looking at museums and education centers, and these are the kind of attractions you know, that you know, put a lot of visitors into the continent. But what amazes us, and what also amazes me, is the rapid growth in FECs, family entertainment centers, which have more than 40% share in the attractions industry. And this is due to their, you know, being, you know, weather resilient, and of course, if you look at, you know, who they appeal to, you know, as I mentioned, that is prevalent in Africa, being quite so young. So yeah, these are one of the drivers that I can just you know, a few of the drivers that I can highlight, you know, in a nutshell, to say that Africa is the next best thing, and the world's eyes are looking at Africa. I'm really excited about that.
Noor, if
Perfect.
you may, I would like to build back a little bit on what Mr. Sibusiso just said, as far as Africa being the next frontier and the next best thing. Maybe zoom out a little bit and look at Africa as a whole, and start to look at the sub-regions, because you know, any investor needs to know where they're going as far as a market to understand how to approach it strategically. Of course, you have northern part of Africa, you have the western part that is more francophone, and then the eastern part that more anglophone, and then the south, with South Africa being a very heavyweight in that region. Again, a lot of countries are developing in Africa. In the north, you have Egypt, you have Morocco, and others, right? But in terms of the opportunities, you know, Sibu just mentioned the FECs being 40% of the entertainment market share, which is very telling, because that's usually the lowest entry ticket into entertainment is these FEC developments, because they're smaller budget, smaller investment, which gets you in the door. But not to forget that there's also, you know, theme parks that are happening here and there, water parks, and so on and so forth. And the fact that this is yet very scarce is showing the opportunity. The opportunity growth in Africa is probably the highest from any continent currently, maybe a little close to what's happening in South America. But the opportunity is there. Meaning, if you go to Europe or to Northern America, there's already a lot of competition. In Africa, there is not that yet. So that for investors is kind of the low hanging fruit, so to speak. They went in as Sibu mentioned within FECs. There is a little bit of theme parks and water parks, but everything the story is still to be written, right? And then obviously the first comers get the advantage of being there before anybody else, hence to reap the benefits in the mid and the long term.
I would love to add but only data from WTTC report. Africa had welcomed 99.2 million international visitors in 2025, and there is an increase only for 14.1% in travel and tourism contributed. Approximately, there was a 228 billion US dollars in income investment from Africa.
All right, yes. So personally, I really like the perspectives because, it reminds us that, it isn't just about building attractions, it's about understanding the people who will visit them and, create destinations that, communities can be proud of. And, people all around the world, maybe in the future, when they go around and they look back into Africa, they're going to be really proud of how far it's come. So I really like what you guys said about, investments and long-term growth because it reminds us that Africa isn't just a single market. Every country has its own opportunities and challenges, which, brings me really nicely to Mr. Ahmed, because we've talked about where the opportunities are, but I'd like to shift the conversation towards today's visitors and what they're actually looking for once these opportunities become projects. So, for international manufacturers, technology providers, right suppliers, or even the entertainment, solution providers, where do you see the biggest opportunities within the African market? Mr. Ahmed,
Well, actually,
yeah.
yeah, the question is forwarded to me, and I would love to answer the question. We have the biggest opportunity is not simply selling equipment into Africa, is to create a complete local relevant entertainment experience. And I see five important areas actually, and the right size, the urban FEC, resource linked attraction, and attractive entertainment and edutainmental climate, responsive water and outdoor attraction, and digital solutions such as cashless and system guest data and game functioning. Actually, local partnership are essential. Developer, consultant, and operator understand the catchment and approval culture, affordability and climate staffing, and maintenance requirement. International supplier bringing product engineering and technology. As we are at AG Active Play, we connect original IP, storytelling experience, design engineering, and international OEM ecosystem with the local market knowledge and operating requirements. I hope I answer your questions, and Karim also can add a value to my questions. It's a question number two.
No, absolutely. So again, it goes back really to the premise of this is a new market, right? Again, we talked about FECs for the data point that Sibusiso mentioned earlier, and the opportunities there. Now, it's a whole landscape, be it from FECs that are more indoor to theme parks that are more kind of a mix of indoor outdoor, or water parks. The technical solutions or the solutions that vendors may offer are really cover up the whole gamut, right? From POSs to rides to you name it, right? So the landscape is open wide for investments. So to me, it really, without getting into the kind of the nitty gritty of which solution and which partner, it's really to understand the landscape you're going into, right, and build it for the long run. I know that there's other questions we mentioned that look at what is the outlook. So I would say look at it holistically a continent standpoint, and all the opportunities that exist, in Europe, in Northern America. All of those rights, all of those solutions will be needed, but it's much more important, in my opinion, to know the landscape, to go on the ground, to talk to people, to understand the mentalities, right? Because it is key to know who you're dealing with so that you offer the right tailored solutions. I know that in my personal discussions or discussions we had with Sibu, there was this idea of don't come and sell me a solution that culturally is not going to work for the particular country, the particular sub-region. And again, I'll let you elaborate on that. But again, to me, it's understanding the landscape you're getting into so that you provide and offer the right solutions. Sibo?
And thanks for reminding me of that, because the opportunities that Africa is developing, and I think one of the biggest bridges that Africa needs is technology. And one thing that I can say is that for Africa's story to be told properly, we need technological, interventions that can be able to narrate the story to everyone. I think the solutions that are needed that can, bridge the culture gaps so that everyone can have access to what the continent has to offer. So I'm excited about that, because one of the industries is, of course, reaching the FECs, but they are really also technologically based, and they're also based on developments that are already happening. For example, a lot of housing projects across the continent, they don't just happen independently. There's a whole ecosystem that needs to be highlighted. If you look at a housing project, it can be planned isolated from a city, and these cities, to plan this thing properly, you need to plan also the entertainment. So entertainment comes in to be part of a holistic view. I think someone mentioned this, and I think there is opportunity for anyone that wants to come invest in the continent to look at a big part of planning and master plans of and any development opportunity, because the continent is still developing. That's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you so
I
much.
agree with you, and I will just add one more important for the investor and for the risk control system for the projects, actually supporting the approval of the installation and training, and the most important is the spare part and after sales service and long-term guest satisfaction. And we cannot fit any outsource seams actually to Africa and copy with it doesn't need copied attractions. Actually, it have to get its own culture seam attractions.
So this actually makes me want to ask, we're talking about the cultural scenes attraction, right? So how do you balance the international international design standards combining with the African cultural standards so that, visitors and people who visit, they feel a genuine connection to the attraction or to the place that's being built?
This is, I hope you're asking me, because this is really a question that's dear to my
Sure,
heart.
go ahead. Yes, sure, go ahead.
Given that I'm an architect and a designer in this particular case for the entertainment field, it's really the heart of it. And the key word here is storytelling, narrative, right? Is every place is unique. Okay. Every place has its own context. Now, the wealth of Africa, and again, from talking to my colleagues here on the panel, Cebu, for example, we're talking about the wealth of the fauna and the flora in Africa, right? The animals, the uniqueness of the landscapes, the deserts, the mountains, you name it, right? So Africa is blessed because of this wealth. And to the fauna and flora wealth, I'm going to also talk about the cultural depth of Africa, right? From the pyramids of Egypt to the Medinas of Morocco in Marrakesh to the wilderness in South Africa and so on and so forth. Every country is a unique piece of a beautiful mosaic of the whole continent. So to me, to answer your question, is to tailor the narrative to Africa. Exactly the same way, we don't want, people in Africa don't want, vendors to come with solutions that may work for Europe or Northern America, but not necessarily for Africa, is even more so for the narrative and the story that you're telling. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my own, day to day when I get approached by clients anywhere in Africa, anywhere in the world, actually, is the first question, either for a theme park or water park or whatever it may be, is the idea of getting an IP versus coming with your own narrative, right? And so by default, I give them equal opportunity, right? As far as, steering the client towards getting an IP or having their own narrative. But honestly, it's even more so in Africa. And the reason, it's really two main reasons. One is, again, this wealth of history, background, culture that we can leverage in Africa, but also the entry point or price, if you will, to getting an IP versus coming up with your own story. So if you combine these 2 points, it becomes very clear that you at least want to consider or give enough consideration to looking at your own context, cultural, again, natural, and so on and so forth, and finding fertile grounds to develop your own narrative. Right now, you may balance that with an IP here and there, and so on and so forth. But my point is, you have to craft your own story, right? Which gives you better grounding and more authentic destination, right? For people locally, which I would start with locally, to be honest, but also for tourists that may come from abroad, because in this industry, people know that if you have a destination that has strong local visitors underpinning, it will survive much better on the long run than if you rely only on foreign visitation, right? So again, if you look at this broadly and kind of zoom out, is okay, we have to tailor our story and narratives to the local context and also respect the local culture. But you couldn't do any of that if you don't know it, right? If you're not on the ground and giving it enough enough respect, if you will, to go and understand who you're dealing with locally, but also the people that are coming from internationally as tourists, to do the right thing and cater to the right story and narrative for that particular place.
Well, Karim, was very interesting. Actually, your answer question was very interesting. What about the concept for like what is if we can fundamental to discovery and moving and learning and achieving and share to the visitor? These keywords will mean something to you?
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking about the concept. You're now digging a little deeper and going into the toolbox content, right? What are the components that I'm going to actually use and activate to get to the goal of showing enough respect of the destination to understand its local culture and leverage the appropriate stories, narratives, and so on and so forth. So I think we're going to need another another event like this to dig a little deeper, because the components you mentioned deserve enough time to develop them. But you're absolutely right. These two things are related as far as the big idea versus the components that you use and activate. You mentioned master planning earlier, Ahmed. Master planning is key. It's everything. I gave a very specific talk about this about 2 years ago. It all starts with a master plan, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't have the right master plan, you can build the best architecture you want, buy the best ride you want. None of it is going to work, right? Because it's all about guest experience, right? If you don't have the right guest journey, the path, we call it surprise and delight. Whereas you're going from a small alley and discover a big plaza that may have either a building or a ride or whatnot. If you don't have that master plan that is done properly, again, tying it to the local culture, all of that we're talking about for the last 20 minutes, to culminate into the experience. It's all about guest experience. And I'm going to throw another keyword for me, as in my day-to-day design here at Meinhardt in Dubai, which is to say the immersion, right? So you want to immerse your customers, your clients, however you want to call them, your patrons, into even in a small FEC, all the way to the largest theme park, is there's a magic about getting immersed in an environment. Whereas when you're in it, you forget about the real world. And that's why people pay that, whatever they pay, is to get that relief and that break from real life into this environment, however big or small it is, either the destination known or not well known. It's that immersive approach that, in a sense, translates into more longevity for your development, hence better ROI.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. We would love to hear Noor also, the third question also.
All right. Yes. Before I, start with my third question, I wanted to talk about your keyword. I wanted to just stay back to what Mr. Karim said, and I wanted to paint it to Mr. Ahmed. You're like at AG Active Play, you're big on like storytelling, right? And we often think when we're going to an attraction or like maybe like a right place, we think about how we're going to immerse ourselves, and we think about the memorable moment we had because we are seeing so much story around us. I know I like to, go into a place and I like to see the culture. I like to see the storytelling. I like to see how it was built and everything. I really resonate with that. So, how does storytelling together with the OEM partnerships influence the way you approach newer projects?
It's quite simple. There's 5 opportunity in lanes: urban FEC, resource attraction, activity and adjustment, water, natural, digital layers. And we local partnership is actually with marketing and approval and delivery and operation to reach to guests. Okay. To most original stories reliable to the delivery of building an IP based on our approval literally from economic department. We start from Dubai to the world, and we had focus in the keyword of discover, move, learn, and achieve and share. Our original IP actually experience design and engineering and connecting OEM delivery related to operation. Just we have started this practical IP themes, and we are also, it's a very good chance to go what with for the same subject, treating Africa as one uniform market.
That's a very interesting way to put it. Thank you so much for answering my question. It also shows that creating a successful attraction place, it isn't just about installing equipment or just putting a bunch of things together. It really shows about the design and the experience and the story that's behind the attraction site. And it helps even me to remember after I've left the experience, and after we've dived deep into all of this, we've spoken about, opportunities and the creative side of the industry, but let me bring up the keyword master plan again, like Mr. Karim said. I'd like to bring you in because again, with the master plan, none of these ideas become reality without the right planning, without the right partnerships and the execution. And I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. So every emerging market presents its own challenges, right? So what are the key obstacles companies should be prepared for when they're expanding into Africa? And what practical strategies have you seen work well, in overcoming them?
Well, actually, there's we can just I put it very easily in 6 practical fundamental risk words. Every company have to have the market data. City level evidence can be limited also in the same market data. Logistic and currency. Currency fixed movement can affect civics and infrastructures, maintenance, affordability. Because in Africa, there is you can use the natural not to increase the budget for the projects. Actually, you have a lot of marine and water flow from natural. You can build awesome projects over there, and you reduce the cost also for the projects uh, for the project cost.
I don't know, Sibu, if you want to interject here. But let me just throw in a couple of things here. And honestly, this is why people are watching this, is to get the feel of how things actually work. So a day in a life of somebody like me that designed these things is, I get a call, say, from a client, somebody that has a site and that's thinking to do, say, a theme park, right? So typically, or a water park, whatever it may be, is they say, okay, Mr. Karim, I have this 10 hectare or whatever it may be, and I'm thinking about a theme park or water park or something else. So, in the right way to do these things, to get into these developments, is twofold, right? And these twofold are both feasibility. One is commercial feasibility, and one is, if you will, design feasibility, right? Commercial is what Ahmed is talking about a second ago, which is data, market data, right? What's your competition? What does the catchment area is, to define your ROIs, level investment, capex, and all those things. And then the feasibility of, say, design, as I want to call it now, which is to look at the site and see what fits from a planning standpoint. Going back to your idea of a master plan, or of, okay, so that's your tool to understand what fits from a design standpoint, but you also have to have the market data. Now, in a place in North America or Europe, wherever it may be, and it's out there, it's available. You're gonna go buy some data, and maybe get a consultant to do it for you. In Africa, you come to find that it's pretty challenging because the data is not there yet, right? There's very little development in this field, right? Again, I was in a convention in Morocco not too long ago. Morocco has become the first tourist destination, last year in Africa, which means that there's a momentum, there's amazing growth, where the hospitality sector is very, very developed, but entertainment is burgeoning, is starting, right? So you want to invest there, or in Egypt, or in South Africa, or wherever, but the issue is that there's not enough data, which brings us back to the point we mentioned earlier of, you have to still know the context you're going into. If you don't have the data, you have to go there and ask and talk to people maybe that are in a kind of a sister field, if you will. In this case, maybe hospitality or something like that. But it's very important to understand the context, right? So again, to answer your question, you have the commercial part, you have the design part, and when you marry these two, is when you start to explore, is that 10-hectare site too much or too little, right? Because you're going to talk about, yearly visitation, meaning how many people are going to potentially come to your site within span of a year, right? Could be 100,000, could be 500, could be a million, could be 6 million, right? Now, these numbers, derive a very, very wide, size of, say, the development or the number of rides and so on and so forth. So there's really science behind the art, right? Because there's definitely art and creativity, but you need the science so that you, again, another keyword, right size the development. Right sizing is very, very important, because if the right size for a particular development is 5 hectares, if you build 10, it's going to look empty. Hence, it's not going to look appealing. It's always empty. You go to a restaurant you see a restaurant that's empty, the next one that's full next to it, you go to the one that's full because you trust, oh, they probably have good food there, versus the one that's empty, maybe not necessarily. So you build something bigger than your potential yearly visitation, and it looks empty. On the opposite, if the right size is 5 and you build one, it's going to look super full, and the experience is not going to be that great. So all this to say is to raise that red flag to any developer to go to the right partners. Going back to partners, in this case, design partners, commercial feasibility partners, to get the right number, the right numbers, and the right design, so that you don't miss the mark, right? So that's one. But this is not all set in time. This thing grows, because year one is not year 5, is not year 10 for any particular development. So what we do in our kind of day-to-day design is we build in expansion, right? Based again on the numbers. Say it's a million, right? So you build something for a million, but through those numbers that year 5 you may have 2 million or 1.5 or whatever it may be. Is you build in expansion so that the project grows organically and is always hitting the right mark as far as what is the optimal size at any given point in time. I hope I didn't bore you with the details, but I'm going to give
No,
you
of course not.
in the
No, Karim,
day-to-day.
in this modeling, Karim, actually, I was just interested also to have a conversation with you. If we start creating this modeling, if we select a priority city and develop an original local IP and build a trusted partnership, and we use the capability for qualified OEM delivery and launch a pilot and do a test, this will be a successful project ready for investors.
That's yet another event. So we're gonna live the events. This is event number 2. Go ahead, Sibo.
Something that be careful of. And also encouraging the spirit of entrepreneurship. Come in Africa, so with the confidence of, come with a new, unique idea and go and figure it out. Like what said, that there isn't enough data. Yes, that is true. But go and try out certain things. I mean, we have certain zones. One that these are hubs within Africa. I mean, if you look at northern Africa, South Africa, you know that there's growth and tourism businesses are thriving. So go set yourself up there, understand the culture, understand how the economics work, and then have your idea to encourage that sort of entrepreneurship. And yes, there will be challenges. There will be, situations where you find yourself that nothing is picking up, or you've had your plan and you're trying to implement your business, but it's not going the way you want it. I mean, one challenge that I can point out right now is in Africa, our skies are restricted. I mean, you have to go out of Africa to come back into Africa. And these are things that investors know and understand. These are dynamics, that is going on. I don't want to speak about that, but you need to kind of come into the terrain and understand it. Come into Africa. I mean, if you come into spaces with the right people, you will find partners that will take your project and take it to the side of your project. You need to be there to start to imagine it and let the idea and the entrepreneurs come in to be able also on proper investing time. You touch the time, the creation, the experience. And you need to really take through from beginning the experience to the end, and that's it. That's the best. Firstly, to understand yes, you are deciding experience, you create somehow relatability, especially to say that how can you merge local and international. I mean, at some point where we all meet, and the whole world. That's why when you come to Africa, we say at home, because we believe that everyone originates. Just wanted to mention that your experience must always obtain and trigger a person to come back to re-experience it. I just wanted to give that.
Mr. Sibu, it's very interesting when you say it that way, because obviously you've already touched ground in Africa. You're a local, so you're familiar with how things go around. And so I just wanted to ask, like, which partnerships or the local collaborations or even the technologies, and the market entry strategies are important or even essential for a long period of time when we're talking about the success of Africa and related to the entertainment field.
When you speak about the technology, I think I mentioned earlier on my submission to say that this is one solution that will help us interpret our story. And I think Karim also touched on that. We've got so many areas, the language, culture, and how basically things done to the don't necessarily do business. We have our way of swinging into things. So I'm more keen on technological solutions, and then coming back to partnerships, really big business organizations like the TBCSA, which is the Business Authority of South Africa. There's many associations across the continent that that speaks to where an international investor can land and kind of understand how business works and what odds and zones that one can really look into starting a business. So yeah, the sky is the limit, even though I said earlier the sky is quite restricted. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity, and we just need to kill the fear of coming in. We've looked at the numbers, we've seen that there's huge growth opportunity in the continent. Thank you.
I am actually very much thrilled because I think this is like very exciting for me, because not only do we have like the structural integrity, we have the storytelling, we have the knowledge. With all three of you combined, I think I'm also gaining a lot of knowledge from something I'm very, new to. So it's very interesting asking questions and getting the answers, because I feel like even I'm learning something the more you learn. And it's also very important, it's an important reminder that even the most exciting concept still has to make sense commercially and operationally. And we've covered where the market is today, the opportunity that exists, and some of the challenges the industry still faces. So looking ahead, I would like to ask, where do you see Africa's entertainment and attraction industry over the next 5 years? I know it's a very, fast change, but which market or sectors do you believe will experience the strongest growth? And what should developers, investors, or even operators be doing today, like as of today, to position themselves for the long-term success?
If I may, any smart investor, in my opinion, and again, I come from the design part of the discussion, but I do see a lot of examples where investor got it right or got it wrong. But to me, is having that path, right? Short term, mid term, long term, understanding the challenges, not being too optimistic or too pessimistic. Per Sibu's point, don't be scared of Africa, but don't go into Africa thinking it's all roses and hunky dory every day. There's challenges that you have to be aware of, that you have to learn about. And I see you smiling, which makes a lot. I know what you're thinking there, but again, have a realistic plan, short term, mid term, long term, understanding that if you do the right thing, you will catch that exponential growth that Africa will inevitably go through, that you may not have in Europe or Northern America, because again, the landscape is already very full, very competitive, and that exponential curve has already happened. So here there's an opportunity, but you have to be smart about it, very selective about it, so that you don't get burned basically too quickly. And so in my opinion, it's pacing yourself, as far as the level of investment, and B, surrounding yourself with the right partners. Right partners means people that are on the ground, they're natives, they already have developments, maybe again in a sister field or industry, that will leverage their understanding of the local market to help you, or together go towards success rather than a quick failure, right? But before even all of that, every place in Africa is unique. Northern, from the south, from the middle, you have to understand your particular specific market, your specific city even. Now, these things are built on this understanding is built on what? for example, on foreign visitation as far as tourists per year, right? A place that gets, I don't know, 20 million tourists is not one that gets a million, right? The 20 million one, you want to definitely build in your strategy to cater for those foreign tourists. Hence, right, going back to the global IP versus your own narrative is to have the right balance, right? Because they may want to come to learn about the country, but you also want to give them a flavor of things that they are familiar with everywhere across the globe, right? So it's very important to have that balance. Again, understanding the big data, the big numbers, and catering to. If you go to a place where there's not a whole lot of international visitors, but there is a local market that you can leverage, well, you're gonna place your investment at the right level, not overprice it, because people are not going to be able to afford that entry ticket. Hence, it's not going to work. So it's really the idea of art and science, where you have to have the art to do the right design and such, but definitely have the right numbers and the right strategy, but setting yourself up for the long run, not going too fast, not going too slow, but just the right pace, so that you catch the right return on investment each year, as you should.
Would anyone like to
I
chime in?
actually I agree with Karim. He is quite intelligent in his keywords actually, and really I expect the market to become more local or more digital and more investment disciplined. And the next 5 years, actually, what we are expecting, the next 5 year will be there will be a rewarding companies to combine African story and global engineering and local operating intelligence. And this is the forecast actually their magazines and forecasts they are studying reaching approximately data of 333 billion dollar will be investment in Africa till 2036, and this all based on reference WTTC. And this event is a starting key. Actually, we are targeting also all the investment are targeting to support the tourism and to open millions of jobs to the people and to support the economic of Africa.
Before I give the floor, I'll give the floor to Sibu, because I think his perspective from South Africa is very important too. I'm just going to give an example, right? Say I'm an investor. I'm looking at 4 or 5 year perspective here, maybe culminating there and then going beyond. Is take the example of Morocco, right? So Morocco will organize the World Cup in 2030 with Spain, Portugal. Okay, we're 2026. 2030 is 4 years from now. There you go. So here's a trajectory, a path, right? To get somewhere or get into a market, maybe at the right size, and then grow with the momentum of this massive influx of tourists that will come for the World Cup in 2030. Just an example. But there's already a path there that's pretty straightforward.
A few example, and I want to say, any potential investor, actually, you are very late. You should have been in Africa yesterday, and right now, it's a rush, if I can put it that way. Just come and explore the opportunity. And the World Cup coming. People should already be set up by then. Explore where it's currently happening. Understand of the current tourism hubs. I mean, there's now that are growing at a very fast pace. I mean, if you study only just that, it will tell you something. I mean, if you look at I mean, of course, it's the Cape Mountain there, but what is happening with the V&A was different, and how nothing should have been happening. There's just a fishing side, but that whole concept has been turned around, and that V&A more attracts so many visitors today. And still they manage to spin an old infrastructure, spin it to something that attracts millions of visitors every day. So the opportunity in Africa. And there's so many of these coastal areas. If I look at Egypt and other areas, you know, Africa is really untapped opportunity. You need to come yesterday if there's such English.
Would anyone like to go?
Now, thank you, Noor. It's a pleasure meeting you actually, and learning a lot from Karim and Sebastian.
The pleasure is mine. Before I wrap up, I just wanted to have all three of your opinions. Now that you're mentioning the World Cup in Morocco in 2030, we're seeing that momentum. We're seeing the investors. We know where they're going. But we're also talking about the entertainment and the leisure that is that's happening in Africa. So have you noticed investors becoming more willing to invest in entertainment projects compared to, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago, especially within the growing market of Africa?
Again, I'm just going to respond because, again, I have been to an event that I'm not going to mention the name of a few months ago in Morocco, and I felt that not momentum, it was energy, it was absolute excitement, right? Because people see the potential. The issue is that they need that roadmap. They need that local, authority and whatnot, which was the case, to be honest. The ministry was there encouraging investment, but the energy that Sibu is talking about come to Africa, and there was that, but because there's not a whole lot of entertainment, it's that infancy, right, of testing the market and finding the partners and making those connections. So it is happening. And to Sibo's point, if you're not there now, I'm not going to say yesterday, I'm just going to say now, to be optimistic, you definitely will miss out because those connections are being done as we speak. Those opportunities are there. The visitors are there and they will come in larger numbers, right? So yes, to answer your question, yes, there's a lot of that energy. There's a lot going on. The issue is that there's a lag time, right, between what we're talking about now and these developments becoming a reality is where the opportunity cost is, right? Is to Sibo's point, if you're not there now, being part of that, building blocks, if you will, you will come too late because it will already be built and people will already have capitalized on that return on investment. Of course, it's the early comer benefit, if you will.
And to answer your question, I'll just answer your question to Karim to say that when it draws a plan, there's always allocation for the entertainment area in the plan. So in all projects, everything is going to be going on. That is currently going on in the continent. There is allocation planning, entertainment, and attractions. Because after we've done everything, we need to have two tricks and kind of ease off and think about the next project that we're going to do. So, yeah, that is my sense that there will always be an appetite for the entertainment and attractions industry, and that is, in fact, the numbers tell a story, and the numbers don't lie. Biggest revenue generators is tourism, attractions, and entertainment.
Mr. Ahmed, would you like to say a few words?
No, actually, we had covered all the most important things that from this life, we are telling a story. We are encouraging the investors. We are opening a new vision for full ecosystem in Africa related to their local own IP and opening new opportunity for OEM investor partnership, giving a message that we are looking for a teamwork to build a new ecosystem and build a better life, build future, opening jobs for people. And this is a starting key. Thanks, Engineer Karim. Thanks for you. Thanks for all the attendance. Thanks for Mr. Sapsio. And a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you so much. So basically what I'm hearing is it's now or never. Do it now or lose that opportunity. So it's very interesting that although each of you come from different backgrounds in the industry and, different parts of the industry, there's a common theme running through all of you. As Mr. Ahmed said, there is a teamwork. And the teamwork, you guys speak that language very well. You guys are very familiar with it. Success isn't just about having a great product or a great idea. It's about understanding the local market, building strong partnerships, creating experiences that genuinely connect with people, also not losing the touch with the culture. And with that being said, that is all we have for today. And dare I say, it was a very successful wrap-up. And I'd like to sincerely thank to all our 3 panelists for sharing our expertise and insights. Today's discussion had shown us that Africa's entertainment and attractions industry isn't simply a market to just watch. It's a market that is actively evolving, presenting exciting opportunities for those who are willing to collaborate and, and invest for a very long time. And on behalf of the Entertainment and Leisure Show and Business Entertainment, thank you to everyone who has watched and joined us today. We hope you found today's conversation both informative and very inspiring. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next edition of the E&L Pulse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Noor, for moderating this session. Thank you, Karim, Sibu, and Ahmed for being a part. So just letting everyone know, our E&L MENA show is going to take place from the 18th to the 20th of Jan next year. Can't wait to see you all, and also can't wait to see you guys at the next session. So once again, thank you. Keep it up. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes.
Right.